Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Just One More Level podcast. I am your co-host, Christian.
And I'm your co-host, John.
And today we are playing a few different things because it is Halloween. Well, not literally like Halloween when we're recording it, but it will be Halloween very, very shortly whenever this goes up.
Yep.
So, how this is going to work, we're going to play a few different games, or have played, because I always screw that up, a few different games. We played Phasmophobia, Resident Evil, Ghosts and Goblins, and then this little tiny indie game Structural, which I think is the one I was most excited for, believe it or not. So we played them, we have thoughts of them, about them, of them, whatever, and we're going to talk about them. So it's just the same normal podcast that we normally do, except we're going to talk about a few different things, and of course they're all kind of spooky themed, right? Spooky. They all have some semblance of horror or thriller or whatever to them. So of course, if you're watching here on Twitch, we're going to have some footage for you guys to watch. We're going to take a little break in between each one, and then we're going to cut it all together for the YouTubes and the podcast proper. So sit back, enjoy, and thank you for joining us tonight. Yes. So Jonathan.
Yes.
The first game.
Yes.
What was the first game, sir?
The first game was Phasmophobia. All the rage right now.
That is right. It really is. It is extremely popular. Made by a single guy, if I'm not mistaken, in the Unity engine, and it blew up. It's like the #1 game on Steam. It was outselling other major titles that have just come out recently. It is kind of insane, and I'm really happy for the guy. I mean, that's amazing.
Right.
But so what is it, though? Tell me a little bit about it. What do you do in Phasmophobia?
Well, in Phasmophobia, you are a ghost hunter. Very similar to the paranormal investigators that you see on like the Discovery Channel. You go to an abandoned house or an abandoned building of some sort, like a high school or a mental asylum. You investigate a haunt. But unlike all of those TV shows, which are definitely fake, the ghost you are investigating is definitely real. And it can be one of many different types, and it's up to you and your team to gather evidence, and based off of the evidence you gather, you determine which type of haunting you think you're experiencing.
Exactly. Yeah, and like he said, there's all different types. There's like demons and onis and yuris and mares and poltergeists and just all different kinds of things. Banshees, wraiths. And you have to use different equipment that you purchase by having successful missions. And the success is kind of determined by finding evidence of like tangible evidence that you can record or capture on a camera or something like that.
Right.
Doing your objectives. So things like finding specific pieces of evidence or seeing the ghost with your own eyes, as well as, of course, discovering the type of ghost that haunted the house. And so those are kind of your goals. You go into the map. You try to figure out what it is, preferably without dying. Then you record it in your logbook, you leave, you get money, and you do it all over again. And then you just repeat. And it's 1 to 4 player, which interestingly enough, so the game was really made around kind of playing with a group. Like you said, it's kind of parallels the ghost hunting shows that you see on Discovery Channel and things like that. So it's really made for that. You have like proximity chat. So if you're next to another player, you hear them in the game proper. You don't have to like use Discord or anything like that to talk. You just hear them in the game. And the farther away you get, the farther like the quieter they get. And you hear like echoes in people's voices and things like that if you're in small rooms. Then you have like a walkie-talkie to talk over far distances, but the ghost can like potentially screw with the walkie-talkie and things like that. So it's really interesting in the way that it was made to play in a group. But personally, so I forgot to record any footage for this game. So I really quickly threw together some footage, and I was trying to piss off the ghost at one point just so I could show the stream what the ghost looks like. And that was the first time I ever actually got any sort of like goosebumps or creeped out or anything like that, I admit. Playing with friends, it's so lighthearted to me. It's kind of funny. But whenever I was just playing alone in a dark room trying to piss the ghost off, I admit I got a little creeped out. Like nothing major, but a little bit.
I became majorly creeped out, even when playing with friends. I played with you and Austin, and
shout out to Optajack.
Yeah, shout out to Optajack. Well, I didn't know what to expect. And that's, when I discovered what was to be expected, it's quite scary. It is
yes. Yeah.
It is effective depending on the setting and situation. And I think it could be very effective at times when you are trying to get something out of the ghost. I mean, the big gimmick in all of those ghost hunting shows is when the guy makes a big scene, when he goes into a room or a place that is supposed to be haunted and he starts mocking the ghost, right? He goes in there and he's like, come on out and move something. Why don't you do something?
Right, yeah.
Why don't you show us that you're here? And you do that with like certain phrases in this game. You can ask where it is, how old it is, what its name is, different things like that to try to interact with it to get more activity happening.
Right.
Because depending on the type of thing that you're hunting, it doesn't make itself apparent at all times. It depends on how malicious the entity is.
Yeah, some ghosts will come out like right away and try to attack. Some almost refuse to. And then there's also like different difficulty levels that as of now you don't have a choice in which difficulty you play. It just kind of randomly selects one. Which brings me into the fact that this game is early access, so it is still being worked on. There's a lot of things still missing from the game. It's playable, but there's a lot of things like a difficulty setting that's just missing right now. So like when I was trying to get attacked, for instance, I only had the choice of playing amateur level. Even though I've unlocked clear up to intermediate or so. So that's probably why I wasn't able to get an attack to happen. Whereas if you're on the harder modes, they tend to be more angry and come out sooner and things like that, as well as, of course, like John said, the type of ghost. And so you have different types of evidence you can collect too. So like if you're watching the stream right now, you're seeing the UV flashlight, which helps you see like fingerprints, for instance, like on walls, or well, it's more like handprints on like walls or the ground or doors or things like that. You also have the what's called EMF, where it checks for electromagnetic frequencies, I think it is, or whatever. And if it gets up to, all ghosts put off some, but if it gets up to a certain level, that's an indicator of specific kinds of ghosts. Then, like John said, you can ask it questions and see if it answers you. If it answers you through the spirit box, that's more evidence of a certain type of ghost. There's a couple other things too that I can't really, like the spirit orb's another one. There's some other things too that don't necessarily lead you directly to what the ghost is, but like the Ouija board. I know, John, you found one in our game together. You found a Ouija board, and I think it was our first time playing. So you can like click it and ask questions, and I think the Ouija board's the coolest of the items, even though you can't like bring it with you and use it. It's just something you have to find, because you can ask it specific questions and it'll actually like spell out an answer. Whereas with like the spirit box, it just gives you generic answers, like close or far to the answer, like where are you? And when it's like what do you want, it'll just say things like kill or attack or things like that. It doesn't really give you specific answers, whereas like with the Ouija board, we were able to get it to tell us exactly what room it was in at one point. At least we believe so. But it sped out the word office and then gave a number. We were in the mental asylum, so we were pretty sure that, you know, it was trying to designate the specific room it was in or something like that. Exactly. We believe. We ended up failing that mission. 2 of us died. John was the only one left alive.
I didn't die the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, he got lucky. We played, 4 games? 4 games together. He did not die one time. I think I died like 3 times, something like that.
You died every time. Yep.
Yeah. So it was good. No, not every time. I went back one time alive. Because I know there was one time all 3 of us went back alive.
I think Austin died the time that
he might have. Yeah, maybe. But regardless, not every time. Give me a little bit of credit, just a little bit now. But on the creep factor, Jonathan. So I mean, this is all like Halloween specials on a scale of like 1 to 10. Compared to the other games, let's do that. Let's compare it to the other games. We don't have to say specifically which ones you thought was creepiest or anything, but like out of like just thinking of the creepiness of the other games we played for the Halloween special and the other games we played here in October, where would you put this? Like, is it towards the top? Is it in the middle?
I would say personally, it's towards the top.
Really?
Just because of the versatility. You know what I mean? Like judging the game as a whole, not judging just the experience I had playing with you, because I also had some experience playing by myself. Amber played a little bit, and I watched her play it after.
Amber's his wife, by the way, everybody. Just
after
so
I got off,
like who we're talking about.
After I got off the game, Amber played a little bit of it, and what she experienced was genuinely scary. It was like she was just on the training mode, but she did a training mode, and she got a demon. And she was sitting there with the spirit box, and she said, you know, are you an adult? How old are you? And it said adult. And I leaned into the microphone and I said, what do you want? And it said attack.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it just said run, and then it said die, and then Amber said, where are you? And it said behind. And I was like, oh,
nice.
Okay. So for me personally, depending on the situation and the kind of environment that you're going to play this game in, I would give it probably 4 spooky bats out of 5.
4 out of 5?
4 out of 5 spooky bats.
I'm a little bit more conservative with this one, although, like I did mention, I found it a little spookier whenever I was just playing with myself. And yeah, my first game or two, I was a little more creeped out as well, but I think it's because I played it so much with friends that it became more of just doing the same thing over and over. It became more of a routine.
Sure.
I still very much enjoy the game, but it lost its creep factor until I played it by myself again. I'm going to go like 2.5, just a little bit below average, personally speaking.
Well, if I may, what is a terrifying game for you? Something truly gripping and scary.
See, that's the thing. Horror to me, yeah, I'm not really the type that usually gets like creeped out by like horror games and things, and that's why I specifically said like in the context of the other games that we've played. So there is some like just judging it against these games. As far as like the game that scared me most, I don't know if there really is one, to tell you the truth, that's ever like actually scared me.
Really?
One of the games we're going to talk about creeped me out the most. One of the games we're going to talk about today definitely creeped me out the most of anything I've ever played that I can think of.
Okay.
But it's just like horror movies for me. I don't generally get scared in like horror movies either. I mean, there's like jump scares, right? Where I'll like have that sudden moment of shock or whatever. The scariest movie I think I've ever seen, like the movie that's creeped me out the most was probably, I think it's called like The Sixth Sense or something like that. Where it's like the alien one where it's like quote unquote found footage movie.
I think you mean Signs.
No,
if you're talking about aliens, because Sixth Sense is about ghosts.
No, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't Signs.
Yeah, The Sixth Sense has that little kid. I could see dead people.
No, it definitely wasn't that one. Found footage alien movies.
Yeah, Haley Joel
do a
Osment.
quick. Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not that one.
No, no. Signs has. It's about aliens, and there's a found footage moment where there's an alien that walks through an alley. No, everybody.
Because Signs is the one that they made fun of in
Scary Movie 3.
Yeah, in Scary Movie. Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't that one. I honestly can't remember what it was called. I don't think it was a particularly popular movie. It was based off like somewhere in America. I want to say like Alaska or something like that. And it was like a split found footage recreation movie. So like they were doing a reenactment of all of the quote unquote found footage, but then they would show like side by side the reenactment versus the real quote unquote found footage.
I don't know. I started to have an idea and then you lost me because you said aliens in Antarctica, and I was like, "Oh, you watched The Thing."
Not
That's
Antarctica, not Antarctica, in Alaska. Sorry, if I said Antarctica, I meant Alaska. Yeah,
because I was like, "Oh, okay, you watched John Carpenter's The Thing," and I was totally on the same page. I was like, "Yes, that is top 10 scariest movies for me."
Right, the fourth kind. That's what it was. Not Sixth Sense. The fourth kind. Yeah, yeah.
I've heard. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've seen clips of it.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't know, I'm a horror movie junkie, so I'm all over the place with horror.
He really is. So yeah, that's probably the movie that like creeped me out the most of any movie. So video game wise, I don't really know if I have one. Like I said, one of the games we're going to talk about would probably be the most for me. But even that was like I got some cold chills, got a little creeped out, but then like 10 seconds later, I just like forgot about it and it was over. Like,
right.
So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But so did you enjoy your time with the game though? I think that's kind of the most important thing, though, right? Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun with it?
Yeah, it's probably the most fun I've had playing a party game for a while, which is honestly kind of new to me. You know, I just recently got into the PC gaming thing. Just recently got a PC that could in general. So going into this is one of the first games that I played that was kind of like that. Other than like joining online matches with. Like, I played an online match for a few hours with Travis. I did Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO. And then I've, jumped in matches of Fortnite. I play Minecraft online, but I do, like, a private server. So...
Right, yeah.
This was one of the first experiences where I did, like, 2-3 people...
Gaming with friends.
Gaming with friends online, yeah. So it's very reminiscent of, like, the old split-screen co-op type thing, sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
But
everybody hopping in a Discord server together, or in this case, using the proximity chat.
Right.
Just having a good time, BSing, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But hey, it's tons of fun, and I guess this one doesn't really have levels. Well, it does, but I would do just one more match. Just one more game.
Right.
Of this one.
Yeah. I would do just one more ghostly encounter, sure.
Oh, yeah. And
for sure.
It's rare that games that spike to popularity like this really deserve all the hype, but I think we're in we're in a nice little spot with gaming right now. Because but between this, Among Us, and what's the other one that's bigger now?
A lot of sudden indie hits. Yeah,
right.
Fall Guys, yeah. A lot of sudden indie hits, and they're excellent games. All three of them that you just mentioned. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely.
Yeah, I will say just one more thing before we go for Phasmophobia here. Like I did mention, it is an early access. It's a little simple at the time, so if you try it out and you think, man, after like 4 or 5 matches, you just kind of get into a routine like I did. One of the things that excites me most is the possibilities for the future, right? He's talking about adding like where you can be the ghost, that sort of mode, or when you die and you become a ghost, because when you die in this game, you become a ghost and get to go around like the spirit realm. He's talking about maybe letting you screw with the people that you're playing with, kind of interact with objects and things. He's adding more sound effects and more varied ghost signals, like what kind of ghost it is. And things like that add a lot to the creep factor. So it's getting better. So if you play it now and enjoy it, just come back in a couple months. It'll be even better. If you play it now and you don't particularly enjoy it, or you see other people playing it and you're like, whatever, check it out again in a few months, because this guy's working on it. He's putting out updates, and it's getting creepier and creepier, more and more fun as it goes on. So
you never know what kind of DLC could be available for this in the future. It already has very, very slight. It's definitely more akin to Ghost Hunting shows, but it has some Ghostbusters kind of feeling to it, because you get paid for discovering which kind of ghost it is. And
then you get to upgrade you don't really upgrade the base itself, at least not yet. Maybe that's something else we'll add in the future, but you upgrade your equipment.
So who knows? There could be some DLC in the future where you're actually working on vanquishing the ghost, purging the house, or getting rid of it.
Which would be really cool. Definitely. Right. But all right. Yeah, I think that's it for Phasmophobia, unless you have any other parting words.
No, I mean, I think this is a really fun experience. I encourage everybody to try it out. It's pretty cheap. It's on Steam, which makes it very nice and accessible, so go give it a try.
Right. I agree. So thank you so much for joining us so far. We will be back in just a moment. If you're watching the podcast, it'll be a couple seconds. For everybody else,
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So we are back with our second game here of the Halloween special, Resident Evil.
Yes.
Jonathan, you still with us?
I'm still with you.
You're sounding a little stuffed up. Want to make sure you're surviving over there.
I'm alive for now.
You're alive? Okay. For now. Good. Just a couple more games. We're almost there. We're about a quarter of the way done.
Yeah.
Resident Evil. So you played, as we were setting up and everything, we were bantering a little bit. We did realize that there was one small difference. We didn't communicate clearly enough on the exact version of Resident Evil we both played. I played the director's cut, because that's the one I have on the PlayStation Mini. You played yours on the original PlayStation, the non-director's cut, right? Just the original, like the very first one. Yeah. So, I mean, there may be tiny little differences then, just for everybody out there. If there's little things that don't line up with what we're saying, that's probably why. That, and the fact that there are 2 different characters that you can play in Resident Evil. Which character did you play, Jonathan? I played as Jill.
I played as Chris in both.
And I'll tell you.
In both versions,
the remake.
Actually. I played as Chris in the remake and Chris in the original, because I also played the GameCube remake on my Switch.
Right.
And then I played the original when I got home on the PlayStation, and that's
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you why I played Jill. So, well, first, Resident Evil, if somehow you don't know, is a game all about exploring a area, the first game, a mansion, to try to figure out why people are disappearing, why people are dying, why things are going on, basically. In the first game, there have been incidences of people being found dead in the forest around this mansion. So you are part of an elite task force that has been sent there to figure out what is going on. And you get there and you're attacked, you lose your helicopter, you go into the mansion, and you very shortly thereafter get split up from your crew and discover that zombies are a thing. The dead have come back, and they are trying to kill you. And so it's a puzzle survival horror game. So you're going around the mansion trying to find keys and solve puzzles to get deeper and deeper into the mansion to figure out this mystery. And that's pretty much it. Am I missing anything? That's kind of the game in a nutshell, right? Without getting too spoiler heavy.
Yeah. And may I just say, I played the remake first, the GameCube remake first, and then I went back and played the PlayStation. And I had no idea that there were full video cutscenes that they shot live action.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so they shot them live action. Honestly, I don't think they look too bad. They look pretty decent, in my opinion. But the voice acting.
No, the voice acting. Oh my God. I don't even think
it is hilariously bad.
In-camera voice acting for the in-camera live action footage. But
No,
I was just so surprised. I did not know there was going to be live action cutscene.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, well, that was kind of the whole thing with the PlayStation, right? You could do full motion video. You could do FMVs. That was a huge thing.
Right.
And one of the only real benefits that it had over the N64 was all that extra storage space allowed you to do things like have full motion video. Yep. Whereas on the N64, it was technically possible, but you had to compress the hell out of it because you only had a little tiny cartridge to store everything on.
Right.
So that was one of the big benefits of the PlayStation there. And yeah, I think the FMVs actually look pretty decent. It's just the voice acting that kills me, man. Oh, kills me. I love it. It's so bad that it's good.
Yep. It's bad. It's very bad.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, but I enjoyed this game, but I have my complaints.
Yes, yeah, and that's valid. So me and you just off on other games before, other podcasts before, and just in person, we've talked a little bit about some of our struggles with this game. Before we get into too much detail, can I just ask, did you enjoy the gameplay of this one better or about the same as the remake?
See, that's hard to say because there's things about this one that I enjoyed more than the other one, and vice versa.
Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit then, why don't we? What are some of your gripes about either version, and just let's go from there.
So my gripes is I feel like it takes a long time to do anything.
Sure. Okay.
So that's a very small gripe with me because, like I've said before, I always like to put myself in the mind of somebody who's playing this game for the first time when it came out. And if I was back in 1996 or 1998, whenever the director's cut came out, if I was back then I would be very impressed. Because all of the background graphics look great. They're all baked.
Yes.
You know, they're all pre-done. They built the set and then they shot it. So all of the background graphics look great. And it has full motion video. You know, a lot of very impressive things happening for a video. And the content in general, up until this point, content in a game wasn't that mature, generally speaking. It started to get there in the early 90s with like certain fighting games, especially like Mortal Kombat and things. But
like on that same sense though, if you don't mind me interjecting just real quick, from a storytelling perspective, the PlayStation is where storytelling really blew up as well, because they had all that extra space to build these grand set pieces and to flesh out these worlds. So from that sort of perspective as well, like
you get
the storytelling.
I'm sorry. You get 8 inventory spaces with Jill?
Yeah, well, and that's one of the benefits I was going to talk about. We got kind of sidetracked. That's one of the reasons why I decided to play with Jill. She has more inventory slots and doesn't need as many keys as Chris. So she's just the more fun character to play overall, in my opinion.
Ridiculous.
It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, they should have put Jill as the first choice and Chris as the second choice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because while, if I'm not mistaken, Jill has a little bit less health, and I think she might move a tiny bit slower, but she's the easier character, in my opinion, because of having less inventory space and needing less key items. But
so is Jill is Jill a 2 hits and you're dead, or a 3 hits and you're dead?
I think it's still 3 hits and dead, but as you progress through the game, there's stronger enemies and things like that. So you have to deal with like varying levels of damage and whatnot. But so the point I was trying to make though, real quick, is they're just like older games didn't really have stories so much, whereas they really tried to make this. They tried to give a story, right? They tried to tell a story with this game here. I don't think they expected it to go as far as it did with all of the sequels that it has and becoming this whole universe of games. But they were telling a story, which is, I mean, you think back to games before it. I don't really know that many zombie games on like the SNES and NES and things like that. The only one coming to mind is like Zombies Ate My Neighbor, which I mean has nowhere close to the story of something like this. You know, where you think of like your Marios and the story is just your princess is missing, go find her. Right. Whereas this has, you know, full motion cutscenes and just regular cutscenes and story elements and hidden lore and it's at the time. It would have been amazing, right? And I'm sure that's why it did as well as it did.
Right.
Obviously, huge franchise now.
Right.
But yeah, so gripes. Move slowly.
Yeah. Move slowly. The tank controls take some getting used to, but
they do. They do.
I imagine for the time, you know, this was brand new as far as anybody knew back then. Tank controls were that's how you do a 3D game. There weren't too many 3D games to compare it to.
the original PlayStation didn't have dual analog sticks. It didn't have any analog sticks.
Right.
So the only way to move the character around was with the D-pad.
Right.
So they had two choices where you just move whichever direction you push, or you use left, right to turn, and then use forward, back to move.
Right.
And they chose forward, back to move.
Yeah, given the limitations, that makes the most sense, especially since it's fixed camera. That makes the most sense.
Yeah, fixed camera, and the fact that it's a shooter, so you have to have like fine control over which direction you're aiming at things.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they could have done anything better on the original PlayStation, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, that's a small one. The other thing is still, even with 8 slots, the inventory is a little frustrating. Only because like and it's better with Jill. I admit 8 slots would probably be just about what I need. But with Chris has 6 slots, and I did not know that Jill was going to have more. And in the newer Resident Evil games, you get inventory upgrade, but I have yet to see an inventory upgrade in this game, and I don't know if it exists.
You only get an inventory upgrade in Resident Evil 2, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there is one in 1, unless it's something that they added specifically for the Switch version. Because I beat Resident Evil 1 Remake on GameCube twice. Once with Chris and once with Jill. And as far as I remember, there were no upgrades at all.
There were no upgrades for inventory.
Yeah.
Well, then
there is a number 2.
PS1.
Yeah, no. There is a number 2, but I don't think there is a number 1 at all.
Yeah. So without an inventory upgrade, and with Chris only having 6 slots, it can be very tedious work, depending on the type of puzzle that you're doing, because you'll come to a thing that you can pick up, but you're not able because you're already carrying a key and a gun and ammo and health.
Which kind of puts this in a weird position where I have beaten this game so many times at this point that like it's weird. I enjoy it more now than I did the first couple times I played it, which is not how games usually work for me. Usually my first time playing, maybe second, is the most enjoyable. And then it kind of gets repetitive. But I find the gameplay very satisfying.
I enjoy
progressively unlocking more and more areas and all that.
Yes, I enjoy it more and more.
But my first time, but my first time through, I played Chris as well. At least my first time in recent memory, I played Chris as well. And I got so frustrated for the first like 4 hours trying to figure out where everything goes and how to do all the puzzles and constantly being out of inventory space, etc. It was so frustrating. But now that I kind of know what items are needed where and what items I can leave, like I know now that there's no point in carrying around a bunch of healing items. You can carry around one full heal and that's all you need. You don't need to carry around any other healing item. I know now that it's pointless to carry around save ribbons because like 99% of the time, 9 times out of 10, whenever there's a new typewriter that you haven't seen before, it's going to also give you save ribbons at the same location or very close to that same location. Or the typewriter is going to be right next to a storage box, so you can just pull out your old ink ribbons. So I know there's no point in carrying that around. I know there's no point in carrying around multiple guns now. You only really need to carry around one gun, and depending what character you're playing and what part of the game you're at, it will determine what kind of gun you should carry around. So really, at this point, you only need 3 inventory slots at pretty much all time. Used up, and then that gives you 3 to pick up your.
You can walk past that
items.
Guy.
Only whenever you pick something up, or only the first time you go past him. I'm pretty sure no matter what, he will attack you whenever you go back past him. But I'm not positive. I could have just made a mistake there.
I was about to get livid. I was because it was very difficult for me starting out.
For everybody at home on stream and in the YouTube video, there is a zombie that I had just walked past on the ground, but then it got attacked by whenever I came back the other direction.
Yes, and how did you go through that door? I'm sorry. I'm commenting on the video and I should be talking about stuff because I wasn't able to do that when I was playing. Okay. So anyway, because
so
Jill doesn't need to unlock
that's
doors.
That's what I was gonna say. That's one good thing to bring up is Jill on top of having more inventory space, she has a lockpick kit, whereas Chris has a lighter. Now, the lighter is a key item that you only need like 2 times in the entire game. The lockpick unlocks, I want to say, about 5 doors, give or take.
Wow.
And you have to find keys to unlock those doors. Of course, with Jill, since you have the lockpick, you don't have to find those keys. So that's less key items you have to find. And just easier because whenever you find a door, you can just open it right away. Not all of them, of course. You still have to find like the armor key, the shield key, those ones. It's just the ones that are labeled old keys that you don't have to find anymore.
Wow.
So more inventory space and less key items makes Jill a lot easier, which is why I think Jill should have been the first pick, the main character, instead of Chris, because she's just the easier character to play through as, and in my opinion, the more enjoyable one.
Right. Okay. So back on topic.
Yeah.
Other than being frustrated. Yeah. So those were the biggest frustrations that I had, was the inventory complaint, because the game wants you to pick up multiple things at a time to do a puzzle. Like, for instance, you'll need to get a stronger healing thing. You need to pick up 2 herbs and then combine them. So you'll need to combine the herbs, and then to unlock certain puzzles, you'll need more than one piece of something. Like, I remember there being like I don't know if it was a gargoyle or a lion or something like that hidden in one of the side rooms. This was on the GameCube version. I got a lot farther in that version just because I had time to kill.
That's also in this version. Okay. So that's fun.
There was like a thing.
The puzzle's slightly different, but same idea.
Yeah, you needed to put 2 gems in this thing's eye.
Yes, 1 in each eye.
Right, and then it would rotate in 2 different directions to give you some kind of upgrade, or item, some kind of clip or whatever. And I just wanted to carry like more 2 things on me at the same time in order to complete that puzzle, but I couldn't, because I had picked up other things on the way. So,
and that's actually one of the things that I think the original game did a lot better than the remake.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and maybe I'm a little bit biased because I had beaten the remake recently. Okay. So I had a little bit more information going into the original here. But I noticed with both Resident Evil 1 and 2, the layout was more streamlined. So whenever you picked up something, you were generally going to use it relatively soon. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Right.
Whereas in the remake, things were very spread out. I feel like there was a lot more running around in circles.
Okay.
So at least I had a lot of trouble in the remake with what you're talking about, where my inventory was always full. Yeah. And then I'd feel like there were more key items that I had to pick up and I couldn't get everything. Or I had to make like multiple trips to the same room over and over again.
Right.
But I didn't really have that problem with the original, in my personal opinion.
Okay.
Now again, I beat it a long time ago, but I don't remember how easy of a time I had doing it, and then I didn't play it again until after I played the remake. Okay. So it could be just because I had played the remake directly before coming to the game, or beaten the remake twice at that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's how I felt. I'm seeing you're picking up the shotgun there.
No, I'm actually just putting it back. I was telling my stream, because I stream this game, so I was telling everybody, like, if you try to pick up that shotgun, you will be killed. So you actually have to leave that shotgun there for the time being.
Yes, until you find the broken shotgun to swap it with.
Yes, yeah. So that's a perfect example of like one of the little puzzles. The puzzles usually aren't too complicated. Most of the time, it's just grab an item and slot it into this other space. 9 times out of the 10, that's all it really takes to do the puzzles. There are some that are a little bit more complicated. I would talk more in depth about what they are, but the problem is I don't know which ones are in this game and which ones are in the remake. And I only played about an hour and a half of the original for the podcast, whereas I beat the remake twice.
Right.
So I'm not positive which ones are which, but there are some more complicated puzzles. There are some more involved puzzles as well. Everything's not that simple.
No.
To do.
Yeah, and well, this is quite different. The lighting on the director's cut is quite different from the one that I played.
Oh, is it really?
See, it is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's an interesting little difference.
This lighting scheme right here it's a lot more warm, and you went through kind of a different route to get there too.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are little differences between the director's cut and the original. At the end of the day, they're the same game. But like John mentioned, apparently there's lighting differences and things like that. I didn't actually know that. But I know puzzles are laid out a little bit differently. And like I think some of the sound effects and music were redone, as well as enemy placements were redone. But story-wise, it's, as far as I'm aware, it's exactly the same game between the two.
Yes. So moving on to the good thing.
Yes.
Instead of just complaining about Resident Evil and my apparent inability to play it very well. I find it to be still quite tense and scary at times. Even though it's old, and by comparison we have far scarier games now. Yes,
definitely.
I still find it to be just a little bit tense.
Because
you don't know if something's going to pop out at you from around the corner. Sometimes the enemy battles can be a little unnerving. because
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
because you can depending on the monster that you're fighting. So far, even in the remake, I've only gotten zombies and dogs. Although I discovered plants, which I'm not a fan of. Some creepy vines. There's a room with creepy vines where you have to put some kind of chemical, like plant killer.
Yeah, another one of the little puzzles.
little
Yeah,
puzzles.
you find some herbicide and you load it into a bath of water that's feeding a plant that has somehow been mutated to kill the plant, so you can get past it to get a key item. Yeah.
So I wasn't a huge fan of that, but effective, especially for me, because of my
that's a
my
very
weird
specific
phobia.
thing, though. Yeah, that's very specific to you. I think
That's
most
very specific
people.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But the game in whole, like, it does have its enemy design, I think, was done very well, especially again thinking like at the time. And it's very similar in a lot of ways, of course, to another game we just recently played, Silent Hill. And the the atmosphere that they're trying to build. And very similar as well in the whole like resources are limited, be careful what you decide to use when sort of deal, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of enemies that it's better to just kind of run past than it is to actually try and fight or kill them. And that was something that was compounded in the remake that I actually didn't like. Because in the remake, whenever you kill a zombie, they have, after a certain amount of time, they'll come back to life as another type of zombie, which in my opinion was a bad game design choice. In this game, once you kill an enemy, they're dead. They're dead. They don't come back. They're dead as long as you actually kill them, which I am very thankful for.
Something I actually really liked about playing the original version versus the remake. In the remake, I was just offered so many like rounds of ammo and healing items and different things like that. I didn't have to strategically think about how I was going to get around this situation and survive.
Right. Which is probably because of what I just said, the fact that they had zombies come back to life. They probably added all that extra ammo so you had a way of dealing with it.
Yeah. And I also played on easy difficulty.
Oh yeah, no, that helps a lot. Actually, that helps a lot.
And I did not know. I wasn't given a difficulty option, and on when I played
I don't think the original did. I don't think the original did. The director's cut does, but I don't think the original had the difficulty slider either. At least not on your first playthrough. After you beat it, you may unlock like a harder difficulty mode, which is something that happens in the remake, and I believe the director's cut as well.
But I actually enjoyed in the first game saying like, okay, so I don't have to go upstairs and push the statue off the ledge to get the blue gem just yet.
Right.
Because I don't have any use for it. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up through that door on the right, and then I'm going to go through that room that we're in right now on video, and I'm going to go down the stairs and into the safe room, because I know where that safe room is because I'm playing the remake. So I'm gonna try to get to that safe room. I know there's going to be a box in there. I need a box to get ammo because I'm running out. So let's do that and see if I can run past the zombie. And then after dying a few times, I'm like, okay, I can't get past the zombie at the bottom of the stairs, so I need to run past the zombies upstairs and get to the zombie downstairs and kill him in order to make it to the safe room. You know what I mean? I had to plan my route and decide who I was going to kill in order
Which
to
is why I think this game is so much better on your second playthrough than your first, because you have the ability of doing that. And that's what I really enjoy too. Like with the remake, like I said, I played through it twice. My first time on Chris, which was, it was okay. I enjoyed it. But the second time I played it as Jill, I enjoyed so much more. It only took me about half as long to beat it, but I was able to do like you just said. Even though the puzzles were all shifted around a little bit, I knew, generally speaking, at least where everything was and how most of the puzzles were going to play out, so I was able to plan ahead. Like, okay, I know I'm going to head to this area next, so I know I'm going to have to grab this key item, and that to make sure that I can do this puzzle on the way. And, I'm going to be passing this. I might as well pick that up so I can do this puzzle and get that secret cache of ammo or whatever. Like, it's nice to be able to do that. And it's weird in how it makes this game more enjoyable the second, third playthrough than it does the first.
Right.
It's weird, but worth it, though, in my opinion.
So, scariness.
Yeah.
What do you...
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
No.
The voice acting is laughable, which destroys the scary atmosphere, the spookiness of it. But that being said, the creature design and the audio design are excellent. Those are huge bonuses. And the world design, I would say, is decent. right? It's not like a Silent Hill level of creepiness, but it's not bad. It doesn't detract from the creepiness at all.
Right.
Even though surprisingly well lit compared to the remake.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna have to give this like a 2 out of 5, just compared to like the other games that we're doing and things like that. It's just it has its moments of tenseness.
Yes.
And some of the designs of the creatures are generally or genuinely, I'm sorry, creepy. But the game as a whole isn't really. It's more tense than anything else. It's more It's more about anxiety of am I gonna die again, and then frustration when you die repeatedly than it is.
And it takes so much longer to get going again on this version versus the remake. So
I haven't died. Okay. So I don't actually have experience with that personally.
You're just gonna get a bazooka like 20 minutes into the game. See how it goes.
It's fine.
Just gonna
in my first hour playing, I got the gun, the bazooka, which is actually a grenade launcher. I don't know why they call it bazooka, and the shotgun. Wow. In like an hour. I feel like I probably could have beat this whole game in like 4 hours.
Speed
as Jill, just from like playing through it multiple times already,
right?
On the remake, and then having some memory of playing this back in the day. Yeah, I feel like I could have played through it like about 4 hours. But first playthrough though, you're probably looking closer to like 7 hours ish.
Yeah.
Of playtime, something like that. No, it's really not super long. And I will say too, just from experience playing the remake, it's not worth it to play both storylines in this game.
Really?
I would highly suggest if you decide to play it, just play Jill.
Gotcha.
The differences between the two stories are very minimal, and you don't really there's no big moments that happen in one storyline that doesn't happen in the other that really mean anything.
I wonder if it's a director's cut thing that you get to run around with that guy that I saw you running around with just now, or is that a Jill thing?
That's a Jill thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I believe his name is Barry, if I remember correctly. Yeah. He is another member of Stars.
Right.
And you meet up with him a good few times throughout playing as Jill. But again, it doesn't add anything significant to the story.
Yeah, I believe he
but
in the remake, at least, of Resident Evil 3, he makes a reappearance with Jill's character in Resident Evil 3.
No, nice.
Yeah.
But how about you, John? So you asked me my creep factor on this here. How many spooky bats are you giving it out of 5?
I'm giving it 2 spooky bats out of 5 as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm appreciating the director's cut a little bit more, and not watching the footage of this one. My copy doesn't have all that. I'm gonna have to swap copies with you because it's the art's a little bit more polished on this one.
Right.
I'm liking that a little bit better. And it's pushing the capabilities of the PS1. I'm noticing there's 2 zombies in this room, by the way, versus 3 in my playthrough.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nice. It's a classic. You gotta play it.
Oh, for sure.
It's a classic. You gotta do it. If you're gonna call yourself a fan of the genre, you should start out by, if you want to see where survival horror started, want to see where it all came from.
Yeah, then you have to. I mean, you don't really have a choice.
You don't have a choice. You've got to play this game. 2 spooky bats out of 5 for me as far as scary goes. As far as enjoyment of the game, I would probably give it a 4 out of 5, despite my criticism and the fact that I think Silent Hill took the same formula and improved upon it. I still very much enjoyed playing it, and I intend to beat this. I fully intend to beat it.
I'm a little more critical. I would give this version average, so like 3 to 3.5 on the PlayStation version. And then the remake, it is more lore accurate. It is technically the canon version now, so if you're really big on lore stuff, play the remake.
Gotcha.
But I enjoyed it less as a whole. I would actually give the remake like a 2.5 to 3, just below average to just average. Right. So personally, if you're looking for the more enjoyable experience, I would say play through the original, director's cut of the original.
Right.
But if you want to get more story, go for the remake.
Sure.
Maybe play on easy. Definitely play as Jill. That's my recommendation there.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah, as far as like criticisms and things we like and whatnot, I pretty much just agree with you. I don't really think I have anything else to say about it. It is it's Resident Evil. Like you said, you got to play it if you want to see where the genre came from and really, really get into the lore and things.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't really know what else to say about it. It's Resident Evil, everybody. Come on,
you've heard of Resident Evil. Yeah.
Like
it's not as bad as the movie. So just
no.
I've only seen the first two movies. Surprisingly, I'm a big movie guy.
Interestingly,
I love horror movies, but I have only seen
right.
the first two Resident Evils. That's all I dared to watch.
Who was the main actress in the movie?
Mila Jovovich.
That's what I thought, which is interesting because The Fourth Kind, the movie I was just talking about, and the last one, that is, if I'm not mistaken, The Fourth Kind, shot in Bulgaria or whatever. Yeah, she plays one of the main characters in The Fourth Kind.
Right.
So just a strange coincidence there.
Okay.
I thought so, but that was just completely unplanned, but whatever. So yeah, Resident Evil, I think that's kind of it. I don't think there's really anything else to say.
Really.
Would you face one more zombie here, Jonathan?
I absolutely would. I intend on beating this game as well as beating Silent Hill. So
yeah, I don't know if I'm going to beat it again, but like I said, I've already beaten it twice and came back for more willingly. So
right.
Yeah, I would face one more zombie for sure. It's enjoyment wise, it may be average, but it's got a certain charm, and it's cool to see where it all started for sure. So
yep.
Spoiler alert: the second one's a lot better, but whatever.
Yep.
But all right. So for everybody on stream, we will be back, or we're not going anywhere. For everybody on the podcast, we will be back in just a moment. We are going to switch on over to our next game, which is Ghosts and Goblins that we're going to be talking about. So stream, give us just a second to set everything up, and the podcast people, we shall be back in just a couple of seconds. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, everybody, we are back with some Ghosts and Goblins. Jonathan, you ready for some Ghosts and Goblins? Hell yeah.
I'm always ready for some Ghosts and Goblins.
So if I'm not mistaken, this is actually one you suggested. I'm pretty sure I suggested the other three games for the Halloween special, but this was your pick. Ghosts and Goblins. Was there a certain reason for it? Do you have like special childhood memories of Ghosts and Goblins?
Not childhood. I'd say younger adult. Yeah, I used to watch a lot of the Angry Video Game Nerd in college.
Shout out to AVGN, hell yeah.
Shout out to AVGN. And this was always one of my favorite episodes that he did. He does Halloween episodes every year, typically.
Right. Topical, so that's kind of what we're doing right now, yeah.
Right, so this was one of his Halloween episodes. He did Ghosts and Goblins. And it was a memory from his childhood.
Sure.
It was a game that he had played. The first two NES games he ever got was Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt and Ghosts and Goblins.
Which I think every Nintendo in America basically came with Super Mario Duck Hunt, didn't it?
Right.
I think that was kind of like a pack-in title or something like that. So
right.
So the first real game he got then would have been like Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghosts and Goblins. Yeah.
That's
and
brutal.
It was
like
it is
your first game to be Ghosts and Goblins.
Right. Oh. And he was coming straight from. I think he said at some point that he played like games on the computer, like maybe a Commodore 64 and the Atari.
Right. Okay.
So he's coming off of Atari playing this.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so big improvement in a lot of ways, certainly.
Sure.
Because this game is for a Nintendo game. It is beautiful. Oh my god, is it good looking? Like the art assets look so clean and crisp and varied. Right. Like they are, every sprite, every monster is unique in a lot of different ways, which is crazy on a Nintendo game.
Right. And they had good reference. It was based off of an arcade game.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had those art assets to reference, but they were able to translate them pretty well.
Recreate them
for an NES title. Yeah. He hilarity ensues, of course, as he plays this incredibly frustrating and unforgiving game.
In so many ways. Oh my god.
And so I had always wanted to play it, and finally my boy Craig, shout out to my boy Craig. Shout out to Craig. He got it. He got a copy for the NES, and I was finally able to pop this bad boy in and give it a try.
Right.
And my goodness. Oh, I can't make it past the first Red Devil.
Right.
The Red Devil is the
a creature.
Enemy.
Yeah.
A creature,
about halfway-ish through the first level. Yeah.
Right.
Which is, I mean, full disclosure, John, you watched me play most of my hour playthrough because I streamed it on Twitch. I got stuck on that the first half of the first level for about 15 minutes or so just to get through the first half of the first level. Now, once you get past that point, though, the difficulty drops drastically for the rest of the first level.
For the rest of the first level.
I think it only took me like 2 tries after that devil.
Mm-hmm.
Like
this guy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it was insane. And that's probably my biggest gripe with the game. My largest problem with it is the inconsistency in difficulty. Because for anybody who
yeah.
doesn't know, you play I don't really know what you're supposed to be. You look kind of like a medieval knight in a medieval world.
Yep.
And this like red winged devil looking dude comes down and steals your girlfriend or wife or whatever
Uh-huh.
she is, and you're on an adventure to go get her. And you are
Yep.
armed with a lance, I presume, and you can find other weapons as
Yes.
you progress along. It's a 2-hit game, so you have 2 points of health, and that's it. And
Yep.
it's like a
As the nerd.
side scrolling action game. Pretty bog standard in a lot of ways, but the difficulty is brutal, which I imagine comes
It's
from being
brutal.
an arcade game because they want you to feed
Uh-huh.
in as many quarters as possible, right? So they want it to be super hard so that you have to put more and more quarters in to keep playing.
Right.
But they could have dialed it back a little bit for the home console release. My God.
I agree.
Hour
Yep.
playthrough, roughly for me, I made it halfway through the second level. That was it. I got really, really close to the end boss of the second level at one point, but there are these platforms, and once you start jumping in this game, you are committed to that jump. You can't turn back, you can't slow down, you can't go farther, you are committed to that jump. And on top of that, if
Right.
you are up against something and you try to jump in that direction, it just doesn't work. You can't gain any momentum after you jump either. So I was on a platform and I tried to jump to what I thought was going to be another platform, but it just wasn't there. Whether that was on purpose or not, I don't know. And there was no way for me to turn back. That was it, and I couldn't get that
Right.
far again. John, you said you didn't get past the first half of the first level.
I've never gotten past the first half of the first level. I've played this game many times, and I tried it for at least an hour.
Yeah,
And no.
I would love to ostracize you for it, but I honestly can't because
Right.
it's so hard. Like it is frustratingly hard. My lord. Now with that being said, it does have the one benefit of super hard games like this is that once you finally beat it, my god, does it feel good. I felt
Bragging rights.
amazing, right? Whenever I just
Right.
beat the first level, I felt so great about it. And
Right.
thankfully, this game does employ a checkpoint system. So
Mhm.
once you get it roughly halfway through a level, you hit a checkpoint, and then once you beat a level, you get another checkpoint. And
Yeah.
whenever you run out of lives and get a game over, you do have the option to continue, which lets you restart from whatever
Right.
your last checkpoint was. So it's
Right.
ahead of its time in many ways in that regard. But the difficulty was still just, oh, I want to break things sometimes. Like,
It's yes, it's very rough. I enjoy it as a challenge, and I always tell myself, usually after a couple of drinks, that this is going to be the time, and I'm gonna I'm gonna make it through this time, and I never do. It's I can't beat the first level. Also, just to let you know, the Red Devil is called the Red Devil.
oh, that's his actual name?
It's his actual name, the Red
Okay.
Devil, and then there's Satan.
Is that the one who
and-
comes down and steals your wife or girlfriend or whatever?
Right?
Okay.
And
okay.
and later on, he becomes a common enemy type too.
Oh, for real?
little bit of fun
Oh,
fact about
okay.
this game. Yeah, the final boss of this level, I call him the Rhino. His official character name is the Unicorn.
What? Okay.
Yep. The Unicorn makes reappearances in later levels as a common enemy type.
Which, I mean,
all of the
there are
all
other
of the
games
bosses.
that have done that before, like where
Right.
a boss of one level is a common enemy type of another one. But what surprises me more is just what seems like the main bad guy, Satan. I can't believe that he comes back as a common enemy type because like he's the whole
Yep.
reason you're going on an adventure in the first place.
Yeah.
And then just the name of the rhino dude, Unicorn. He's clearly
The
a rhino.
Unicorn.
Like
Yep.
that's insane.
Yeah, the things I was calling hobos are just called big men.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's
Just
fair,
big
I
men.
guess. They're big men in a building. Yep.
Big men. Yep. Green monsters are the Venus flytrap thing.
Mm,
Crows, of course.
they're crows. Okay.
Yes. The magician is a very rare enemy type that you couldn't really see, and it will turn you into a frog. That's what happened to you.
I had no idea. I was playing through, like I said, John was watching, I was streaming it. I was playing through,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, this enemy I'd never seen before pops up, shoots me.
Yep.
I try to dodge unsuccessfully, and all of a sudden, I'm a frog. I freaked out. I was like, what the hell is this? Why am I a frog? I'm not supposed to be a frog. I'm supposed to be a dude.
No.
What is going on
Right.
here? Like, I've played through
Yeah.
that section like 10 times at that point, at least. Never saw that happen. And then the next thing I know, I'm a frog. Like,
Yep.
what? Which, I mean, adds some replayability, having like rare spawns and things like that. But it's
Sure.
also just very, adds kind of to the frustration as well. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
right? On one hand, I feel like it was a breath of fresh air because it was something a little bit different and a kind of little comedic
Right.
moment in the middle of it. But at the other time, it's like, well, that could have been the run if I didn't suddenly have to face this enemy I'd never seen before. Like,
Right.
so it's
Yeah.
kind of I'm of two minds about it, but I'll take it. I'll take a little surprise every now and then.
Right. Red. Sorry. My mistake. They're not called Red Devils. They're called Red Aram.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah. That makes more sense.
I thought Devil was the actual name. It's a Red Aramer. And then you have Satan.
Yes.
The forest dwellers that I was calling pigs in a blanket are called Woody Pigs.
Oh, really?
They are called Woody Pigs, also known as forest ghosts.
Okay. Why pig though? I don't know.
It looks like a pig in a blanket.
I
like a hot dog.
I guess.
You know what I mean?
Like I didn't I didn't see it until you brought it
croissant.
up though. Like it didn't I don't know. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. So how'd you enjoy your time with the game though? I mean, you said you didn't get past the first half of the first level, but did you have fun trying?
I did have fun trying, and that's the thing. It's partially the notoriety of the game.
Right.
You know, it's infamous in this community. There's the magician again turning into a frog.
Right, on video, which again podcasters can't see what's going on. So
on video,
yeah.
So it's infamous and being like one of the hardest games on NES,
right,
to actually try to play and to try to beat. So it feels fun to be included and to try something out like that.
Yes,
And to say, you know, to be able to collectively say, oh yeah, I know, Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah,
you know, what a
definitely.
what a game, right? You know, so I have fun playing it every time that I do. I doubt I'll ever beat it, but I will continue to pick it up every Halloween. So I guess not one more level, but one more attempt.
One more attempt at least, yeah.
I will give this game one more attempt, many times.
I want to beat it now, right? I have played it, so my history with it, I've played it multiple times, was never able to get very far. But now that I've beaten that first level and gotten so close to beating the second level, I got an itch now that I just really feel the need to scratch. Like I just really want to go back and try it again and try to beat it. I have so many things on my plate that I don't know if I'm going to do it soon, but it's definitely going down as a game that I will go back at some point.
Yeah,
and
tune in next week for Christian's 24-hour charity live stream. I'm not going to stop streaming until I beat Ghosts and Goblins.
Just 2 weeks straight. Just
constantly streaming.
But yeah, no,
keyboard.
It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. It has its frustrating moments, and it has its problems that a lot of old games have with insta-death pits and enemy placement being questionable, where like if you touch the wrong enemy, you get suddenly tossed into a pit. And on the second level, you were watching me play, there's a section where you have to like climb up a bunch of ladders up this building and then climb down the next side. If you don't kill the enemies through a wall, you are pretty much guaranteed to get hit because these enemies take roughly 15 hits to kill, give or take.
Right.
And they charge at you the entire time that you're trying to kill them, as well as occasionally they'll throw like these blue spiked balls at you. So if you don't kill them in time, they will either touch you or start throwing these balls at you to kill you. And when you start going the climbing down section, they don't actually give you enough space to kill them before they complete charging at you to kill you, basically. So that's one of the little tricks I found out was to kill them through the wall before I started climbing down, because otherwise you were gonna die. Like I'm sure there's like a speed runner or something like that out there that can do it just fine without that little trick. But me, as just an average player, there was no way. Like that was the only way I could possibly defeat that enemy. So there are some like cheap moments like that and things where you just have to learn from experience on how to deal with it. But overall, I would say the game is still, the design is excellent. Like level design is really nice. There's a couple different paths you can take in different areas. Everything's really varied, from like different kinds of trees in the background, different like types of ground tile, right, from like grass and dirt tiles and things like that. Varied enemy types, a few different types of attacks that you can do. Although at the end of the day, they all work essentially the same. They're still slightly different. And just I can't get over how good the game looks for a Nintendo game. We watch footage back as we're playing the game, obviously, so we're watching some footage right now of it, and I'm just like staring at it, and it amazes me that it's a Nintendo game, right? Like an original Nintendo game. Wow, did it look good. Like, somebody could put this game out now, just, in HD instead of being, 240p or 480p or whatever. I wouldn't blink. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I would be like, yeah, this looks like a modern title made in a retro style, of course. Right. And I wouldn't even have a second thought about it. That's how good it looks. It's a Nintendo development, like Mario level of art style here, where it really stood up to the test of time. It really does from an art standpoint. Right. Gameplay wise, not as much, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's this sort of
very much
difficulty.
An arcade game.
Yeah, this type of brutal difficulty has made some level of resurgence in recent times, certainly, but I still think they took it a little bit too far with this game, just a little bit.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I would give it 1 spooky bat out of 5.
Yeah, so for the Halloween special, we've been kind of trying to give like spooky bats out of 5, just kind of like, spookiness wise though, I agree, right? It's not a spooky game. You're fighting ghosts and goblins, of course, but like...
Well, I mean, I guess, maybe 5 spooky bats out of 5 for the time.
For the time?
Considering,
really?
Okay, considering... What other scary game was there at the time?
I mean, Zombies Ate My Neighbor or whatever. Like, that's honestly the only one I can come up with.
That was like 5 or 6 years later, yeah.
There was Porky Pigs.
That was mid-90s.
Haunted Holiday.
I mean, again, mid-90s. I'm not going to argue with you. Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday is 5 out of 5 spooky bad, for sure. But
I mean, maybe I can kind of see what you're saying, but I don't know. I feel like even if I had played this when it came out, I still wouldn't have been spooked by it, right? Like, I still would have thought it was a spooky game.
Can you think of a scarier game on the NES?
No, I mean, admittedly, I can't. But does that mean this was a spooky game
on the NES?
I still don't think that means this was a spooky game. I think it just means that the NES didn't have spooky games.
No.
I'm gonna stick with my guns. I'm gonna leave it at a 1 out of 5 spooky bats.
I'm gonna say
from a spooky level factor. Obviously, I enjoyed the game much more than a 1 out of 5.
Right.
And so I mean, we both already said we would at least attempt to beat this game one more time. And I think we would both recommend that if any of you out there have the chance to play it, it's on the Nintendo Switch Online service. So if you have Switch Online, you can play it for free on there. I highly suggest just give it a try, see if it's your sort of game. If you're a glutton for punishment, you may end up really enjoying it. Who knows?
No, that's the thing. Let me try pitching it to you one other way.
Yeah.
The mental stress that this game causes is very similar to the mental stress of fear and trauma. And in that respect, it definitely gets 5 out of 5 spooky bats. I mean,
I don't think you're going to convince me. Comment down below. you can add us on Twitter.
Deserves 5 out of 5 spooky bats.
Yeah, you can add us on Twitter. You can tell us on the YouTube comments. Does anybody out there think this game deserves a 5 out of 5 spooky bats? Or how many would you give it? Let us know, because I'm sticking to my guns. I don't think it gets more than a 1. Jonathan apparently really wants it to get a 5 here.
5 out of 5 spooky bats.
But
absolutely.
Any closing statements? I mean, I didn't have much to say for Ghosts and Goblins going into this. Just that it looks beautiful. The enemy design was amazing. And it's hard as balls. Those were my 3 things after playing it that I really wanted to bring up. I don't really know what else to say about it, to tell you the truth.
I believe other than meme games like Unfair Mario or something like that, getting over it.
Hacks, things like that, yeah.
Sure. Other than that, this is the hardest game I've ever personally played.
I think I would personally agree. Yeah, honestly, I think I would agree.
This is the hardest game I've ever tried.
I consider myself a decent gamer. And for it to take me after about an hour to not even get through the second level in a short game, I think I would agree. Yeah, for sure.
So if you're a glutton for punishment, if you're looking for a hardcore challenge to add to your speedrunning repertoire, then Ghosts and Goblins is the biggest
game for you.
Bragging rights you could ever possibly have. It by far separates the boys from the men.
Oh yeah.
It separates the men from the champion.
For real, though, honestly.
but all right. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
We got one more game.
Yeah, we got one more game. What are we doing for the last game, Jonathan? What is it?
For the last game, we're doing an indie game jam type game.
Yeah.
Title. Made in the style of PS1
Right.
era games, or at least the
made to
art
appear
assets,
as though it was a PS1 game.
Made to appear as though it could have been a PS1.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called Structural. It's an atmospheric psychological horror. And,
Right.
it's a very short experience. We saved it for last because it's the one we're most interested in talking about.
I think so. At least me personally, for sure. Yeah.
So we're gonna give that a look over. You're gonna hear it in just a couple seconds on the podcast, but Twitch guys, you're gonna have to wait just a little bit while we get everything set up video wise. So
won't take super long, but just a moment. So be right back, everybody. All right, we are back with some Structural. So we already explained kind of what Structural was for everybody on the podcast. It is a game made by a gentleman whose name I can't remember, sadly. I can look it up real quick, Jonathan, if you want to kind of tell them why he made the game.
He, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly, he made the game for a contest.
Yeah.
For like a Halloween contest. Who could make the best PS1 looking horror?
Exactly, yeah. And that's what it is, right? It looks like a PlayStation 1. And obviously, if you're watching the stream or the YouTube video, you can kind of see you have a pony controller in your hand.
Uh-huh.
And there's a little tiny mini game that you get to play right here in the beginning of the game. Just a cute little detail. And that's what this game really is. It's just a cute little game with nice little details. And it's very calming and relaxing. And not at all. I'm lying. It is the creepiest game I think I've ever played. And
really?
I'm not kidding. Yes, it creeped me out. And
that's fair.
I think part of the reason why is, full disclosure, I watched about half of this game already. I watched a YouTuber, Pro Jared Plays. I watched him play it. And I didn't pay attention for most of it, but I caught the ending when I was watching him play it and a little bit of the beginning.
Okay.
And things were different than what I expected whenever I was playing it myself. And after I finished it, I realized that was just because of the section that I missed was different than, like, the layout of the building was a little bit different in the section that I missed versus the ending. But that creeped me out. And then on top of that, it's very atmospheric. There's pounding. So whenever you first get into the game, right, you're playing your game and then you just hear this pounding noise coming from somewhere. You can't tell exactly if it's your neighbor, if it's upstairs or what. There's just constant pounding. And so you're like, oh God, my neighbor. And then so you get up and you go outside and it tells you that you have to get your mask, which, topical. So you go back, you get your mask, you come out. And then if you do a little bit of exploring, your apartment building that you live in is nasty looking. It's kind of like all falling apart. There's like dirt all over the place. If you go up to the elevator, it tells you that you're not allowed to leave. You have to stay on your floor, apparently. Like, you're quarantined to your building, not only your building, to your floor. Then you go and you try to talk to your neighbor, and he basically just tells you, like, get the fuck out. Like, just leave me the hell alone.
Right.
And so you go back to your apartment and you go to sleep, and then things happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it too much for anybody out there. That's going to be the hard part of this episode, is how much do we say and how much do we... Okay.
Okay, so hold on. Before we get into that,
right,
I want to address this mini game.
Okay, sure, yeah, okay.
Between you and I. Okay, so at the start of the game, you start up the game with a PlayStation controller in your hand. Sorry,
I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot about your rant he started to rant before the episode started, and I was like, Jonathan, just hold on 1 minute. I'm sure this is gonna be great. Okay.
Yeah. So people might know that I have a habit of comparing games to one another that aren't too very
similar. Yes.
Similar. Yes. For instance, I compared Castlevania to Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday. I also compared Ghosts and Goblins to Porky Pig's Haunted. Sorry,
that one's kind of valid, almost valid. Yeah. I can see that.
Ghosts
and
Goblins and Castlevania similar.
There's some level of similarity at least.
Okay, so this.
yeah, Jonathan, come on. What is this game like?
Okay, so I said the mini game.
Right.
At the beginning here, where you're holding the pony controller, is like Fortnite.
Yeah. No, this game is just like Fortnite, structural.
But you have to. Listen, okay, so Fortnite, they did their big event. I don't play Fortnite that much. Right. I have a nephew that plays Fortnite, okay? He plays Fortnite constantly. So I'm tuned in to what's going on with Fortnite because of him. So there's there was a big thing a few months ago where they like rebooted the whole map and tried to add lore to it and whatnot. They do this pretty often, it turns out. But
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah,
really
they
big
do.
one. There
Which
was a
is
really
one of the
big one.
only good things about Fortnite, in my opinion, is that they're
Sure.
constantly adding new things to it. But
Right. So there was a really big one. They do chapters and they do seasons.
Mhm.
And there was chapter 1 and had like a dozen seasons, and then there was chapter 2. I
Yes.
think I might be mixing up chapters and
I
seasons.
I
But
honestly don't know. I don't play enough Fortnite to know.
yeah,
But
there was a big one. Anyway, the entire world of Fortnite exploded.
yes.
Okay, and the game servers were down
Mhm.
for like 3 or 4 days. And then they had another big event where they brought everything back, and it was a brand new map.
Yes.
And there was a countdown clock. So if you went to Fortnite, if you opened Fortnite the game, all you would see is this black hole in space.
Yeah.
And the black hole in space there was just like a countdown clock of when the game map would be back. There was nothing for you to do. And I thought to myself, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I tried out the Konami code? I wonder if the Konami code does anything here.
Which
And listen,
yes,
I tried out the Konami code, and it brought up a mini game.
It did,
brought up a little
that
mini
was a
game.
thing.
It was a little space shooter
Yep.
mini game, which
Yep.
I was not expecting. So I was playing an old style space shooter mini game within a modern game,
Right.
and that is what made my mind think of it.
And that is why Structural, a game made to appear as if it was made for the PlayStation 1,
Right.
is Fortnite.
Reminded me
Nope,
of Fortnite.
Same game.
Same
Honestly,
game.
if you've played Fortnite, you've played Structural. Episode over. No need to talk about it anymore.
Okay.
But no. So back to Structural, though. Back to the actual game. So you go to sleep. Things happen. Everything kind of shifts. Suddenly you're in like a darker version of your world. And one thing that kind of creeped me out was the mirror. So there's a mirror in your bathroom, and if you go and look in that mirror normally, everything's perfectly fine. It's just a mirror, right? Low definition because it's made to look like a PlayStation 1 game and all that, but you just see your reflection. If you go there after you go to sleep and the world's all kind of purple and weird looking, your face kind of twists and turns and distorts.
Yeah.
And that's creepy.
Yes.
And the atmosphere of the game, the color, right? It turned everything like this red and purple and blue. Yeah. And everything is just like what it was before you went to bed, but suddenly unnatural.
Right.
And like I'm honestly getting goosebumps just talking about it. I love it. It is amazing.
There was a Stephen King quote that I can never remember the specific of.
Right. Paraphrasing.
He was paraphrasing. He was talking about the difference between horror and terror. And to him, horror was something horrifying to look at.
Sure.
It was something grotesque and in the moment, something gross.
Fair. Yeah, okay.
Obscene, or something like that. Terror was coming home to realize that everything you own had been moved 1 inch to the left.
Right. Yeah, it's just everything is as it should be, but not.
But different.
And that is what threw me off. And this game, if you didn't know, I'm sure, John, you probably knew from playing through it, but this game's set in 2022. If I'm not mistaken. So just the very short in the future, and the whole premise, right? The scary thing, quote unquote, about the game is that there was a virus that infected seemingly most of the population. At first it seemed deadly, but harmless enough, right? And then it started mutating people.
Right. And that's told in the game through like a random throwaway line.
Right, exactly.
Just like sort of later on. You just, I forget even where you hear it. I think your main character says it to himself. Like
Possibly.
The virus was
I think you're right.
enough, and then the mutation started.
Yeah.
And you're like, hold on.
The mutations? Wait, what? Yeah, tell me again. I need lore. I need backstory. Tell me what happened.
Call MatPat. Where is he?
Yeah, call MatPat. Get MatPat in here. What the hell happened? And then
this this little sequence here is
you
Gollum's cave in The Hobbit.
So what he's talking about is after the story, or after you go to sleep, you wake up and in the middle of the night and you hear pounding again, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have audio right now, we only have video, so I can't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure you hear pounding again. So you go outside to say something to your neighbor again, and you go over, and his apartment has a giant hole in the wall, and that's it. There's like a TV, a couch, and a hole in the wall. You go into this hole, and all of a sudden it leads into like this cave sequence. And then that's where... So you're going through this cave and everything shifts from like red to like purple and then to blue. And like you're up in an apartment building, but now you're underground, and it's just that like
Right.
it's just the things just don't line up.
It's a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's not what you would expect. It's not. It just doesn't sit right. And then you get down in there, and there's this girl, and you're talking to her about a dream, about what you're experiencing being a dream, and she insists that it's not.
Right.
That this is
you're
just
all living in the same place.
Yeah, that this is the apartment. What are you talking about? This is how it's always been.
Which
but
is
it's
something that
not.
My wife Amber actually tells me about dreams like this. Sometimes she has nightmares where everything's fine.
Yeah,
there's nothing really wrong, but there's something that is wrong.
It's just
and
not.
You can't quite put your you can't quite put your finger on it. Like for instance, she'll tell me about where she has where like somebody that she knows like possessed zombie.
Right.
And she's in a room with other people she knows, and she's like, "So what are we gonna do about this?" And they're like,
"Right."
And that's scary. It's so scary because you're like, "What do you mean? What this person is possessed like... or something?" and they're just like, "No, everything's fine," and it makes you feel insane.
Yeah,
it's that
it really does.
It's psychological.
It's like I really don't know how to put this into words. And so the game, I will say, I implore everybody to go out and try it. It's canovi.itch.io/structural. And you can play it for free, but I would suggest that you give the guy at least a little bit of money. It's kind of like a pay what you want kind of model. And it's nothing like anything else I've ever played. It is marketed as a demo, so it's only roughly, depending on how quickly you get through it, like the couple little puzzles there are and whatnot, it's only roughly 20 minutes to 45 minutes, depending how quickly you're able to get through everything.
Right.
And it's very unsettling, and I don't want to like spoil the ending or anything, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But things get progressively weirder as the game goes on.
And I will say this, as far as textures and art, they did a fantastic job making it look like PlayStation.
They really did. It looks like a PlayStation 1 game, but a little bit better.
I will say yes, and I will say that movement-wise, far too fluid. Having just come off of Resident Evil and Silent Hill,
yeah, that's true.
You can move you can move around nice and smooth through this game. And the PlayStation 1 games were not famous for perfect fluid movement.
No, not at all. And while we're talking about like its parallels to PlayStation 1 games, one little detail I really enjoyed, and I don't know if he did this on purpose or if he did it on accident, but the original PlayStation has Z sorting issues where two textures that would be like one's meant to be in front of another. The PlayStation didn't have a built-in way of telling what texture was supposed to be behind and what texture was supposed to be rendered in front.
Like the tools on the janitor wall.
Yeah, exactly. This game, I don't know if he just screwed up in making the game or if he did that on purpose to draw parallels to that. But I thought it was really interesting that there are moments where like rocks will be seemingly glitching in and out of like which one's on top, which one's on bottom, and things like that. And that just made me think, just coming from playing other PlayStation games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, that just made me think that much more. Like, wow, that really does look like a PlayStation game. Like,
yeah.
It's insane how good he did with that aspect of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing I could say about it, like I said, the movement, far too fluid, I think, for what he's going for.
Yes.
And I only say
which
that
is
because...
a compliment to the game, really. It feels good to move around, but it doesn't feel like a PlayStation game. Yeah.
It's nice and easy to move around, but it doesn't feel like a PlayStation game, exactly. And I will say that you said this is your first time ever experiencing something like this. It's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen and played other games like this before, where they're just like indie titles. For instance, YouTuber Markiplier.
Yeah.
He has an ongoing... Shout out to Markiplier, of course.
Yeah, like he really needs us to shout
Never
him
going to hear
out,
this. Yeah, never going to hear this. But Markiplier has an ongoing series called 3 Scary Games, where he spends about an hour 20 minutes playing 3 indie games that he finds off of a few various sources. So he'll play these games, and a lot of them are very simple.
Okay. Which maybe it's just because I don't play enough like indie horror games, but yeah, this was really special to me though. Like
and they all have a lot of the games that are like this have come off pretty similar and what they're going for, because a lot of them try to just be creepy
Right.
Some of them accomplish what this game did. They try to be creepy, but then they go for jump scares.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get a little bit of variety both ways. So for me personally, I didn't have that same newness to this game. I think that this game is done better than a lot of those
Than
are.
most, sure.
Yes. As far as small independent titles that are made to look old fashioned or made to look low res for the effect, I think that this one was done exceptionally well. But I would have loved to have seen more of it.
Oh
I'd
yeah,
love for
no,
a little
definitely.
bit
And
more lore.
that's why I
Yeah.
specifically brought up the fact that this is marketed as being a demo of
Right.
what hopefully becomes a larger project. He hasn't said, as far as I'm aware, he has not said that he's going to turn this into a full game, but
Yeah.
whenever you download the game, it does download as structural demo, is what it
Yeah.
downloads as. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping for more
Uh-huh.
as well, because I am very interested in this like parallel version of our world. In my opinion, excuse me, in my opinion, this is almost Silent Hill done right, right? Like, and not to say like
Okay.
Silent Hill was done wrong, but it's the same kind of thing where it's a real world setting, a very
Um,
believable setting in a lot of ways, but then
right.
all of a sudden everything turns wrong. And it's,
Everything turns wrong.
yeah, and it's that
Yeah.
same kind of feeling that I got from Silent Hill, where it induces anxiety and discomfort,
Right.
without having to resort, sorry, to jump scares. Because jump scares to me, you get that little shock and they're fun, sure,
Right.
but jump scares to me ruin horror or terror, whichever one you want to call it.
Yeah.
A
Well, see
jump
that.
scare to me is a moment of shock. This
Yeah.
is scary, right? In a
Yeah. And
sense.
see. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I think that the jump scares that are in Silent Hill, I think are done correct.
See,
And
I didn't get
if
far
I
enough in the original Silent Hill to see any jump scares or anything like that.
yeah. And
So,
well, and the thing is, they may not have even intended for them to be jump scares.
sure, okay,
Um,
okay.
because all they are really is you're walking through the fog and an enemy that you didn't realize was that close is a whole lot closer.
Oh,
So you get that
okay,
little bit
okay.
of oh
Okay.
I
Yeah, see, to
wasn't
me, see,
expecting
I
that
wouldn't
to be
consider
there.
that a jump scare then, yeah.
Sure.
So just a little
Yeah,
bit of
nothing
difference in
grotesque
definition
pop
of
up in
thing.
your face.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing
Five Nights at
pop up in your
Freddy's to me
face.
is a jump scare, right?
Right.
That is a I don't know what to call that exactly, but it,
I think
because there
I
are
think in
clues that things are
moderation.
going to happen, right? Like
Sure.
the radio going off or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
there
yeah.
is a payoff to that. So that's more,
Yeah.
I don't know. Not, I just wouldn't call it a jump scare,
Me
but
jump.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's some legitimately scary looking things in Silent Hill for sure.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't consider it a jump scare.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really,
It's
like I
not
said,
a cheap jump scare. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I would say FNAF has a lot of cheap jump scare.
Oh, sure.
But
Okay. Okay.
but Silent Hill has some jump scare.
Okay.
They jump scare you, but FNAF has leans a lot more into cheap jump scare.
Okay. Okay.
So because that's cheap.
Yeah.
Why did that happen?
Right.
That's not a good payoff for what I was doing.
Right.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay. Sure. I can see what you're saying.
So but I still enjoy jump scares to a certain degree.
Yeah. No.
think
Like I said,
if they're
they're
done-
fun. It's
if they're
just
done
not.
correct.
Yeah. It
In
just
moderation.
doesn't lend itself to scaring me
Yeah.
in reality. It gives a moment of
Sure.
shock and nothing else. Really is the thing with jump scare filled games and movies and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
But
If that's your only way to scare me, then
you failed. Yeah.
Yeah. You failed.
But what I was saying was like, is in terms of the psychological effects of this game, the kind of horror that it's going for, and what I would imagine a full version of this game would play like is very Silent Hill-esque, is what I was
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yes. And it reminds me again of PT.
Yes, yeah, in a lot of ways,
PT,
where you're going
the
through the
playable
same
teaser.
locations, but they're changing and shifting. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I would love to see, and that's why I don't think this game can get enough press, enough
Praise. Yeah.
praise, yeah, because I want him to make more of it. I want him to complete it,
Yep.
because I think it would be an excellent full game, and it's the first horror game outside of like Silent Hill and Resident Evil where I played it and I was just like, I loved it, right? Like
Right.
I can't can't get enough of it. It's really, really
Right.
good. And it was
And it has
unsettling in a lot of ways.
it's unsettling, yeah. And there's a not to give too much away for the ending, but the ending is quite ambiguous.
It's not it
It
yeah.
could mean it's not really an ending. It's
No, it leaves you wanting
sorta
more for sure.
right,
Like
right, yeah. It leaves you wanting more. You don't really know what that meant.
no, you don't. Not at
Now
all.
now here's something that may surprise you.
Mhm.
Um, as spooky bats for me, I'd say maybe 3 spooky bats out of 5.
See, for me, this is just again going off our scale of games we've played for this Halloween season. It's a 5
Uh huh.
for sure. It's the only
Yeah.
game besides Silent Hill that creeped me out at all, and this one
Yeah.
definitely creeped me out more than Silent
Yeah. See,
Hill.
for me, Silent Hill is a 4 out of 5
Okay,
spooky bat. Silent Hill is definitely it creeps me out more, and I don't know what exactly it is about it.
right,
Perhaps since it's original PlayStation, it genuinely is original PlayStation.
yeah,
You know, uh, or perhaps since I know there's a bigger lore in the
yeah,
universe because
sure,
of watching the movies and playing PT. Which PT, by the way, I know it's not available to play anymore unless you buy a PlayStation 4 off of eBay that has it downloaded
right,
and has
yeah.
not been cleansed. But my God, PT for me was the only 5 out of 5. I saw
PT,
you nope out of there.
yeah, but I'm not. I didn't consider. I forgot about PT. That is one
Yeah,
of the creepiest games I've ever played as well.
yeah,
Honestly, this one for me was creepier than PT, but I also didn't play that much of PT.
right,
So if I had finished PT, it would probably be the number one. But I was just rating this out of the games we've played this October.
right.
And
Yeah,
that's why I gave it a 5.
yeah.
Because out of
For
the
me,
6 games that we played for this Halloween season, this was by far the creepiest one, in my opinion.
sure. Yeah. If we're gonna go, yeah. If I'm gonna rate the Halloween games in descending order, Ghosts and Goblins, 5 out of 5 spooky bats.
I can't. I
Um,
don't. I mean, you're entitled to your
Silent Hill,
opinion, but
Silent, Silent, Silent Hill,
yep.
4 out of 5 spooky bats. Phasmophobia, 4 out of 5 spooky bats. This I would give 3 out of 5.
Okay.
And why am
Resident
I
Evil.
blank? Resident Evil. Yeah, thank you. Resident Evil, 2.
See, for me, this would probably be a 5. Silent Hill's 4.
Uh-huh.
Phasmophobia's roughly 3. Resident Evil's like a 2. And then Ghosts and Goblins is like a 1. And I didn't
Right.
mean to do like a perfect order like that. That's just kind of how that's just kind of how I
Yeah.
felt, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, if anybody hears this episode, I really hope you go and give it a chance. Um
Uh-huh.
it's a thing, and it creeped me out, man. And if nothing
It's very
else, like
good.
I said, you can pay. Technically, you don't have to pay anything, but I would
No.
suggest you pay at least a few bucks to the guy. And it
Yeah.
only takes
Yeah.
like I
Support
said,
him.
roughly a half hour on average. So
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't have much money, just a few dollars, just show some love.
yeah,
Show some support for this guy,
exactly,
and
exactly.
because I definitely want him to finish it. I want him
Yeah,
to make more.
right.
Because I
Yeah,
think it genuinely has potential to be a 5 out of 5.
sure.
And it came very close. I think perhaps the only thing that would inhibit it is me being sick right now.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not as sensitive to the experience, perhaps. All hopped up on cold medicine and whatnot.
Right,
But
right.
also just other games out there that I've played like it. But I would say out of curiosity and of experience, this was a 5 out of 5 experience.
Yeah,
I
sure.
thought it was made well. It's genuinely creepy.
Right.
We said we didn't want to spoil the ending, but you're at the ending and you're
Yeah, well, I
video.
mean, yeah, if you're watching it, then you're gonna see what's happening. But for the
You're gonna see how
podcast
it ends.
listeners, at least,
Yeah,
give you something
yeah.
to wonder about there.
We're not gonna
Um,
flesh out the ending. We're not gonna go through theories or anything.
yeah, no, nothing like that. But
No,
yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. I do have one gripe
no. It
about the game, and
okay.
literally only, well, two gripes about the game actually.
Okay.
One, I have
Okay.
to say it just to be fair. There's no option menu.
There's
There's no option menu. I know that it was like a
that's
game
right.
jam
You're
game
about
or
to
whatever.
dog FNAF for no
But
option menu.
yeah,
You're gonna
if I'm
skate right
gonna
past
go
this
on,
one.
if I'm gonna say it about FNAF, I have to say it about this
Yeah.
game too. There's no
Nothing.
options, man. Come on, like
There's no like menu
for your
like main
game jam,
menu,
yeah, for your
exit
game jam,
menu.
whatever. It was a game jam game. But once you
Uh,
released it as a game that people have the option of paying for,
Right.
put in some basic options. Let me change the resolution. Let me pick what monitor it's running on. At least, like, that kind of hurt me. The only other gripe I have about it is there's one puzzle in the game where you have to move an object. And if you leave that area and come back, you have to move that object every time.
You know what, though?
That kills me.
Okay, but for me, that was necessary. Because I had to reset it, first of all, to figure out what I was doing wrong, because I couldn't quite get it at first.
Okay.
Because I was walking around trying to smash with a sledgehammer everything in the world.
See, and
except for the one wall which was already torn down for me earlier in the experience.
That's what I'm saying, and that was the hint.
I was like, "What am I thinking?" That was the hint
to hit that area with the sledgehammer.
I was like, "Oh,
earlier
for God's
in the game.
sake!
Yeah,
the wall was torn down already. How did I not know to use the sledgehammer on this wall?"
Yeah.
And so
you're not the only one. When I watched Pro Jared play that, he did the same exact thing. Like, he cut his video and came back. I don't know how much longer later after that, but yeah. So you're not the only one for sure.
Yeah.
But
oh my goodness! And then I eventually I figured out the jade statue thing without using the crate to prop myself up. I don't know how, but I just eyeballed. Yeah. No, I just eyeballed it. I wrote down the cipher on a piece of paper. I wrote down the numbers and letters, and I was like, well, judging from the way this is positioned, it looks like it's 2 and G and 6 and 7. I'm thinking that's the only way you can
put
line
a G in the padlock, so. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, all right, it's going to be 2, 6, 7. And I got it. And I didn't even realize that was going to work that way.
That is actually one other gripe, that padlock. You have to type it in on the number keys on your keyboard if you're playing with keyboard, which...
and you spend about 5 minutes trying to click it.
Exactly. Like, trying to figure out how the hell do you interact with this thing, and then turns out you can't. Well, you just type it in. So that was another little gripe.
Also, it wouldn't let me use the numpad to type it in.
Oh, you had to use like the top row. Number. Sure. Yeah, that's
I had to use
the
number row and not the numpad, and that got me a little bit, because after I restarted it, after I unplugged the controller, I restarted it and I started it back up again, and I was just like, "All right, now what?"
Right.
I was like, "What's interfering now?"
So
it's like,
definitely
let's go to use the number row. Okay.
It's definitely an incomplete game.
It needs fine tuning.
This is just a demo. Yeah,
those are fine demo problems to have.
Exactly. Like, there's nothing that really takes from the experience at the end of the day. Just little tiny gripes. Right. But yeah, I mean, I would say, would I play just one more level? But I mean, the game's completed.
I played the whole demo. Yeah, I would play the full game.
That's what I was gonna say as well. Yeah, if he decides to release a full game, I will for sure buy it and play it. No doubt in my mind. Like, really excited to see what he ends up doing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Keep doing it, man.
Yeah.
If you're listening. That's possible. It's possible that Kenobi will hear this.
I mean, I feel less likely. Not less likely. I feel it's still very unlikely.
It's very unlikely, but it's more likely than Markiplier.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
We can do our podcast.
Like, I tried to find him like on Twitch at one point, and like I just couldn't find him. I do see though. Like I looked at like other games he made. He did make one other adventure horror game. Like a year ago. I haven't tried that one out, but yeah, I wouldn't mind maybe trying that one out. That one is called New Message.
Okay.
It was made for another game jam back in 2019.
Gotcha.
So I don't know what that one's about, or if it's any good or not, but
shout out to Kenobi. Another title.
Wait. Okay, he actually has a Twitter account linked to that game, but not to the other one for some reason. Looks like it's inactive, unfortunately, so maybe he left that group or something like that. But Deep Fried Games is the Twitter account, at fried_games, specifically Brazilian indie game development studio.
Was Deep Fried Games the same person to make One Night at Flum?
I don't think so.
I know that's something random. I feel like it's popping up out of the deep recesses of my cerebellum.
I mean, they don't have anything on Twitter about that, at least, because they only have like 10 tweets. But anyways, like I said, I don't even know if the guy still works with that specific studio or anything like that.
Right.
But that's the only lead I have right now. But anyways, no. That's it.
It was not the studio that made that game.
That's it. It was an excellent game. I just wanted I wanted somebody to talk to it about it. That's why I suggested it for this game jam. And 2, I wanted to bring some level of awareness with the 3 people that listen to our podcast. So Which, if you are
Absolutely.
one of the 3 people that actually listen to this podcast, especially if you're one of the people who actually listen to the whole thing, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Seriously.
thank you. We're
We
about 7 episodes in.
Yeah, and we just do this for fun. We don't expect this
Yeah.
to blow up. We don't expect to be the next Markiplier or PewDiePie or anything like that. But
Right.
it's
We do,
still
however, expect to be the next Jackson.
oh, of course, yeah, of course. But no, like we just do it for fun, and
Right.
it's really amazing to me, and I believe I speak for Jonathan here that people do listen, even if it is just a couple
Yeah.
people. And of
Because
course,
we average about 6 or 7 views, and 2 to 3 of them are just us.
yeah, I would say
So,
between 3 and 4 of them are us. Because I have to watch it once to get like a thumbnail
Yeah.
for it, and then I usually
Right.
make sure that everything comes out okay. And then I
Yeah.
imagine John probably checks it out. So it's about 3 or 4 of
I
them
do.
usually ends up being us,
Yeah.
but there's still a few other views that
See
we
how
end
it
up
turned
getting, which again we just really appreciate. It's just 2
Yeah.
dudes talking about video games on the internet. We're glad,
Right.
so glad that y'all could spend some time with us, and
Greatly
yeah,
appreciated.
definitely.
Yeah. Like I always say, thank you so much for listening. You didn't have to, but you did anyway, and we appreciate it.
We appreciate it. We really do. But I think that's pretty much it for the Halloween special here, right?
Yes.
October's pretty much over at this point. By the
Yeah.
time this comes out, it'll be the
will
last
be.
day of October.
Yep.
So I think we're done with the spookies for
Happy
now.
Halloween.
So I think we might have mentioned it on the last podcast, but what are we playing next week, Jonathan? Well, kind of a half week from when this comes up.
Yes. Next episode of the podcast is going to be about Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot. We talked a
The
little bit
OG.
about it, and we decided to do the Insane Trilogy version, just
Yes.
because that was easier for us both to get our hands on. So we're
Yeah.
going to be doing the first game in the Insane Trilogy on the next
Yes,
episode.
we both.
Yep.
Yeah, we both own that version on Steam, so it's nice and accessible.
Yep.
Stream it if we want. All that sort of thing.
Right.
And then we might circle back to the originals at another time. But we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
start out
it'll
with
stay
the
on our
Insane
list of backlog games to do. So
Yeah.
at some point for sure. Which
Yep.
brings me one more thing. If anybody happens to get this far and see this, if you ever
Uh-huh.
have suggestions for games, we do have a Twitter account for the podcast itself. Just One More
Oh, yeah.
Podcasts is the name of that one. And that's for right now. It's just for this podcast. But if we decide to make more in the future, that'll just be like one hub for updates on all the different podcasts. So if you have suggestions for games you would like us to play, or if you're an indie developer yourself and you would like us to possibly, no guarantees, of
Review
course,
your
no
game.
promises, but possibly take a look
Right.
at one of your games or something like that, then by all means hit us up. We love spreading awareness for retro games and indie games and things like that. So yeah, gladly.
Yeah, and we only have one suggestion so far, Christian. The Dorse lady has suggested Earthworm Jim.
Yeah, that's true. She
So
did
that
just
might be
earlier
coming up in the
today,
future.
which I
Yeah.
am more than happy to put that on the list. I don't think I currently own that game, but I should be able to get my hands on it easily enough. So I
Yeah,
would
it
be
sounds really
glad to
fun.
do the Earthworm Jim. That's the Earthworm
Right.
Jim. Yeah. Them old Earthworm Jims over there.
I do the Earthworm Jim.
It sounds like some dance from the 70s or something. Just everybody
It-
do the Earthworm Jim.
Yep. Yep, it is. That's what the game was based on.
But John, where can we find you at, bud?
You can find me on YouTube. I by the time this episode comes out, actually by the time this episode comes out, I will have uploaded some of the stream highlights of Silent Hill.
Mhm.
When that was my experience playing Silent Hill. And you can also find me on Twitch. I will be streaming Silent Hill in the future at some point throughout the week, probably also before this episode comes out. I will have streamed Silent Hill a second time. I'm just in the mood for it. It's a Halloween type game, so that's what I'm feeling. And you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram, John Dorsey. Twitter is John Dorsey1, also known as the Dorse Man, and Instagram is just John.
Yep.
Should
I
probably
think John
start-
Dorsey won, wasn't it, on Twitter?
Yeah, I should start dropping links.
Yeah.
On,
Well, and again, I do make sure to put the
wherever you
links
find
on
them.
every YouTube video. The links are always linked
Yeah.
down below. And on whatever your podcast platform of choice is, it should be there somewhere, a link.
Right.
Some podcast platforms, unfortunately, don't keep the editing, the formatting to the text that I upload. So depending
Right.
what platform you're on, you might have to search through a ugly lump of text. But it is down there, though, the links, if you ever want to check him out or me. I also have a Twitter. It's at Stream the Steam. And I also have a YouTube account, of course, Stream All the Steam on YouTube. And it's mostly just VODs of things that I have played on on Twitch that I upload, whether it's for the podcast or just one of the games I'm playing personally. And of course, my Twitch is Stream All the Steam, where we stream ourselves recording these episodes, as well as I just do whatever games I feel like playing and things like that. So join us. Come check us out. There's also a Discord channel. I'm not going to plug it directly, but there is a link if you for some reason want to join the Discord. It is almost completely dead right now because there's only like a couple members. So most updates end up going up on Twitter instead of Discord. But if the community grows and wants to interact on there, then yeah, it'll be a place where we can all be a little more personal. So
Yep.
Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
And happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.